5 episodes of Star Trek Voyager Season 3 you can completely skip. When Star Trek Voyager entered its third season in 1996, the show had finally settled into its identity. The cast was comfortable in their roles. The writers had embraced the show's unique premise of a stranded starship, and there were plenty of standout episodes, from the Borg-fueled Scorpion cliffhanger to character-driven gems like Future's End and Distant Origin. But for all of Season 3's highs, there were also a fair share of clunkers, episodes that either did nothing to move the story forward, failed to develop the crew, or simply leaned on recycled Star Trek tropes without adding anything fresh. If you're revisiting Voyager or introducing a newcomer to the series, there are some entries you can safely skip without losing anything meaningful. Here are 5 Season 3 episodes of Star Trek Voyager you can completely skip, and what makes them such easy passes. 1. The Swarm, Episode 4. On paper, The Swarm should work. The crew encounters a mysterious alien species that aggressively defends its territory while the Doctor faces the deterioration of his memory files. Unfortunately, the execution falls flat. The Swarm aliens are among the most forgettable species Voyager ever introduced. Their entire design feels like a half-baked attempt at creating something intimidating, but their motivations are vague, their appearance is bland, and they never return in later seasons. Compared to more fleshed-out antagonists like the Kazon or the Borg, the Swarm are disposable filler. Meanwhile, the B-plot about the Doctor's memory degradation could have been a meaningful story about mortality and self-identity, but the pacing is clumsy. Instead of fully exploring the Doctor's dilemma, the episode resolves it with a convenient fix, leaving little lasting impact. Later seasons would give the Doctor much better spotlight episodes, making this one entirely skippable. Skip it because it's a muddled episode with no real consequences for either the Doctor or Voyager's larger journey. 2 False Prophets, Episode 5. When Voyager encounters a pair of Ferengi who somehow ended up in the Delta Quadrant, the premise immediately suggests fun chaos. After all, Ferengi culture colliding with Delta Quadrant aliens sounds like a recipe for comedy gold. Sadly, False Prophets ends up being more of a recycled next-generation gag than an original Voyager story. The Ferengi here are the same ones who disappeared into the Barzan wormhole in TNG's The Price. That callback might delight hardcore fans, but the actual story is nothing but a thin excuse to trot out Ferengi stereotypes, greed, exploitation, and silly theatrics without much depth. Instead of exploring how Delta Quadrant societies might adapt to Ferengi-style capitalism, the episode leans on broad humor that doesn't really land. Neelix trying to impersonate a Ferengi is a painfully drawn-out gag, and the ending, where the Ferengi escape, is frustrating rather than clever. Skip it because it's a Ferengi comedy episode that fails to be either funny or insightful, and nothing that happens matters to the crew's journey. 3 Alter Ego, Episode 14. Holodeck episodes are a staple of Star Trek, but Alter Ego is one of the weakest examples of the trope. The story revolves around Ensign Harry Kim developing an unhealthy obsession with a holodeck character, Marina, only for her to turn out to be a sentient being manipulating Voyager from afar. Harry's romantic troubles had already been covered in better episodes, and here he comes across more awkward than sympathetic. Worse, the love triangle set up with Tuvok is unconvincing. The episode tries to explore Tuvok's emotional control and his resistance to temptation, but it never goes deep enough to feel like real character growth. The twist that Marina is actually a lonely alien should have added poignancy, but instead, it feels like a rushed excuse to tie the story together. The whole episode plays like filler without the humor of Bride of Chaotica or the philosophical weight of Fairhaven. Skip it because it's an uninspired holodeck story that neither develops Tuvok nor gives Harry Kim a meaningful arc. 4 Rise, Episode 19. Rise pairs Neelix and Tuvok in a survival story on a damaged space elevator platform. In theory, this odd couple setup could have delivered meaningful character development. After all, Neelix's optimism clashing with Tuvok's logic is a classic Voyager dynamic. Instead, the episode becomes bogged down in dull technobabble and clumsy pacing. The mystery surrounding the alien sabotage never really grips, and the space elevator visuals, while ambitious for 1997 television, haven't aged well. The Neelix/Tuvok tension is supposed to drive the story, but instead of building toward genuine insight into their relationship, the script relies on repetitive arguments. Tuvok dismisses Neelix, Neelix pushes back, and the cycle repeats until the plot simply fizzles out. Later seasons like Tuvix and Riddles would give the duo much better material to work with. Skip it because it's a plodding Neelix/Tuvok episode with little payoff, and the central mystery is forgettable. 5. Favorite Son, Episode 20. If there's one Voyager episode from Season 3 that fans almost universally dismiss, it's Favorite Son. Originally written as a vehicle for Harry Kim to be revealed as an alien all along, the story was rewritten mid-production, resulting in one of the most incoherent episodes of the series. The premise has Kim believing he's not human but actually belongs to a species in the Delta Quadrant. The aliens, however, turn out to be luring him into a trap because, plot twist, they want to use him as breeding stock. What could have been a fascinating exploration of identity ends up as a half-baked honey trap cliché with some of the most awkward dialogue of the season. Garrett Wang does his best to carry the material, but the script gives him little to work with. The episode doesn't deepen Kim's character in any meaningful way, and by the end, everything is reset as though it never happened. Even the writers later admitted this was one of the season's weakest outings. Skip it because it's confusing, poorly executed, and leaves Harry Kim exactly where he started, with no lasting development. Why skipping these episodes doesn't hurt the story. One of the advantages of Voyager is that, outside of a few arcs, the Kazon, Seska, and especially the Borg, the show is largely episodic. Missing a handful of weaker episodes won't cause you to lose the thread of Voyager's journey back to Earth. The Swarm doesn't change the Doctor in any permanent way. False Prophets is a Ferengi detour with no payoff. Alter Ego tries to deepen Tuvok, but ultimately resets him. Rise is an underwhelming buddy story with no lasting impact. Favorite Son is essentially a narrative cul-de-sac for Harry Kim. By skipping these, you avoid some of the clunkiest writing of Season 3 without missing any of the character arcs or major plot points that make Voyager compelling. Season 3 episodes worth watching instead. If you're trimming fat, that doesn't mean Season 3 isn't worth your time, quite the opposite. The season has some of Voyager's most memorable hours. Instead of slogging through the 5 skip-worthy episodes, make sure to check out Future's End, Parts I and II, a time travel romp that brings humor, action, and a surprisingly relevant commentary on technology corporations. Before and After, a touching cast-centered story that also foreshadows major developments like 7 of 9 and Year of Hell. Distant Origin, a clever allegory about evolution and dogma, with some of the best alien world-building of the series. Scorpion, the season finale that introduces Species 8472 and sets up Voyager's iconic Borg arc. These episodes highlight why Voyager remains beloved. They balance sci-fi spectacle with character-driven storytelling, all while exploring the unique dangers and wonders of the Delta Quadrant. Final thoughts. Every Star Trek series has its filler episodes, stories that feel rushed, recycled, or just plain unnecessary. Voyager Season 3 is no exception. By skipping The Swarm, False Prophets, Alter Ego, Rise, and Favorite Son, you save yourself from some of the show's least memorable moments and can focus on the stronger episodes that define Voyager's identity. For longtime fans, rewatching even the